Welcome, everyone, to Recovering Wholeness Together with Lynn and Andrea. I'm Andrea. My pronouns are she, her. I live in Philadelphia, which is the traditional land of the Lenape people. I'm in recovery from alcohol, anxiety, lots of other things too. I am a licensed professional counselor in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, a certified professional recovery coach, She Recovers designated coach, and a level 3 Reiki master practitioner. And Lynn, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Andrea. Good to see you both. So I'm Lynn. I am in the San Francisco East Bay area, the traditional land of the Bay Miwok people. My pronouns are she, her. I am in recovery from alcohol use disorder, anxiety, trauma, grief, loss, everything. Some health issues, arthritis, you name it. I am a She Recovers designated coach. I am a board certified behavior analyst working with families and children who have developmental disabilities for my regular employment job. And then I am also a Reiki master practitioner and teach Reiki online and do some Reiki in person too. And I'm really excited today because we have Joanie Lane with us. Let me read her bio. Um, she's a friend of mine from was my very first mentor when I decided to um, go into recovery. And so having her here is a really special treat for me. Joanie Lane, her is the founder and Dharma meditation teacher at A Positive Light Meditation Center in Kelseyville, California. She is a 2021 graduate of the Mindfulness Meditation Teacher Certification Program, guided by renowned teachers Jack Kornfield and Tara Brach, and has also completed the Mindful Meditation Teacher training in 2022. With over 30 years of meditation practice and training, Joanie shares her expertise in Reiki and Qigong and is a certified life and spiritual coach. She commenced her meditation journey in 1989, embracing a mixed education in Buddhist practices, including Theravada, Mahayana, and Zen Buddhism. Having maintained sobriety since 1989, Joanie offers the coaching and support groups for those in anonymous recovery from drugs and alcohol. Joanie is also a musician, writing songs, singing, and playing flute in highly praised local bands. Welcome, Joanie.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Andrea and Lynn, for having me. I'm so happy to be here. Yes, my name is Joanie Lane. My pronouns are she, her. I'm currently living on the ancestral land of the Pomo people in Lake County, California. Um, yeah, it's funny to have somebody read your bio because it's so funny to look at it from this point of view. Wow. It's been a long,
Journey it's been, right? I mean,
it's
1989, I was 19.
yeah, and I wasn't. I was 32. So I've been doing this recovery thing for a bit.
Yeah.
So I'm recovering from alcohol and drug addiction and uh, brought on by trauma as a young child. Um, and I still deal with that. I still go to therapy and I still work on myself. And I think we all should become the best people we can be. A big part of that was Reiki. Um, I've been, just to go over the Reiki real quick, I worked in mortgage banking for a long time, 20 odd years. And at the end of that, when the market was starting to dump and I was losing my job, I started getting curious as what can I do? As a child, I always had this ability to hear people's thoughts. I was very intuitive. I could see shadows of people in the background. I could see auras. I didn't know what they were. I was pretty young. And
Yeah.
this all happened at about 4 or 5 years old when I fell in my cousin's pool and drowned. And my mom found me and picked me up, and I saw myself down in the pool. My mom jump in, pick me up, and pull me out. And I was so mad at her from taking me away from this wonderful place that I had gone to. And it, time is different when that happens. It's like I was there for, I don't know, hours, but it was just seconds. And from that moment on, I had just this intuition that I was aware of. And I think we all have it, but I don't think we become aware of it until something jolts it and awakens it. And that's what happened. So as a little kid, I would just kind of enjoy all these new things I was seeing, but I didn't really say anything because I didn't know nobody else could see them. And then when I got a little older, I remember telling my mom that I can see the air and the color is different today. And she was like,
Wow.
talking about? And I said, no, can't you see the color's different today around the trees and around you? And she said, I don't know what you're talking about. She thought there was something wrong. So she took me to the doctor. They did a cephalogram where they put the little pins and try to read your brain. And they said, no, she's fine. And I felt so embarrassed and ashamed by that that I just really didn't bring it up again. But one day my grandmother, my dad's mother, saw me pick up a bird and hold it in my hands, and I was just humming and closing my eyes, and then when I felt the bird move, I let it go. And this is something I've been doing for a while, but she had seen that and came out and said, she held my hands and says, your hands get warm when you do that, huh? And I said, yeah, but it helps whatever's sick. And she said, I do that too, and so does your great grandma. And that was like, oh, okay, this is cool. I share something with, my grandparents. And she just said, you're a healer. You should become a doctor or something that leads you in that direction. So I thought, okay, yay, I'm special. I have this thing I can do. My grandfather, my mom's dad, said the same thing. He said, you're special. You need to be aware of the things you see and hear. Because I told him the spirit in the trees talks to you. And he said, you can hear that? And I said, yeah. And he said, so can I. Only a couple of us can hear that. The Native Americans call those mother trees. And I said, okay, is that why I can't hear the other trees? And he said, yes, those redwoods are special. We lived in the redwoods in Occidental. And so all of these things, as a young child, you kind of think, oh, that's kind of cool. When you get older and you look back on that, you think, that's really, really cool that you were able to notice that somebody was there to nourish that and support you in that. So I just kind of carried that with me, and I never really talked about it much, because when I did, people thought there was something weird about me. And you know how kids are. One day I went over to my brother's house because the A-frame of my car had broken. That's the front part of the front axle. And I said, I need to find a bolt because the bolt broke. And he's like, I don't think I have one. And I said, yes, you do. It's on the floor over in that corner behind the box. And he's like, I hate it when you do that. It freaks him out. And I thought, but I know it's there. I didn't know it was there before, but when he mentioned it, I saw it. And he picked up the box and there it was. And he's like, you freak me out when you do that. I don't like you to do that. And it became a running joke. My husband was weed eating one day and the spring flew off of the weed eater. And I came by and he's like, I can't find the spring. And I'm like, that's because it's over there. And I walked over and picked it up. And he's like, I love that you can do that.
Fabulous.
I know. This is my favorite story, and it'll be real brief.
Yep. Take your time.
Michael Pritchard is a wonderful comedian. He did the movie Happy. He goes to schools and talks to kids about bullying. He's just a humongously huge-hearted guy. I love him. He called me one day. He came up here to Lake County. We were having problems in our schools, and I talked to him. I said, can you come up here and talk to the kids about bullying? And he said, yes, absolutely, I'll be there. But later on, when he got home, later in the week, he called me and said, I lost my wallet. Where is it? And I'm like, oh. Under pressure, this comedian, Robin Williams' best friend, wants me to help him with this. And I closed my eyes and I said, it's in your couch. I don't know what kind of couch you have. You have a chair of some sort that's soft and squishy and it's brown. And it's in between the folds. That's all I could see. And he texted me later and said, "Yep, that's where it was. Thank you so much." So I mean, I love that I can do that, but I can rarely do it when I want to. It just kind of happens when it wants to happen. Otherwise, I just save the world.
Mm.
But I don't really have that kind of control over it. But it was special. So when I was looking for into finding another job, I wanted to figure out what this thing was that I could feel and heal and understand and see things that other people didn't seem to see. And I just Googled all this information, and this website came up of this woman in the area in Santa Rosa where I lived at the time, that she was a Reiki master. And I said, like, what the heck is Reiki? What, or Reiki, I think is what I called it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And I looked it up, and I'm reading all about it, and I'm like, oh, this answers so many of those questions. This sounds like me. So I called her and I asked her, what do I do with this? And she said, oh, I'm having a level 1 class in 2 weeks. Do you want to join? And I'm, yes, yay. So I went to this and got the attunement and went to the whole day long class. It was wonderful. It was so wonderful. And the practicing of laying on hands and helping people, it's just, I felt like I came home. I was just where I needed to be. It was so beautiful. And then followed up, of course, with Reiki 2 and Master Teacher, which is what I love teaching. I love teaching. Um, And then I went into some other exercises. I went into the Qigong classes and went to classes with Ming Tong Gu, who is from the Chinese. Um, it's a health organization, and they have a clinic in China that doesn't have doctors. They just have practitioners that heal people. So I went into the healing Qigong and loved that. So the combination of those two are so powerful. And then along the way, after I got clean and sober in 1989, I decided through the 11 steps, sought through prayer and meditation to gain a closer. It, I went into meditation because prayer just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
So I went to Spirit Rock, which is in Marin County with Jack Kornfield, and I started studying with him at the end of 1989. So it was more the beginning of 1990. And it's just, I've been with him ever since. He's just such a warm, loving, wonderful human being. And a lot of other teachers, James Barras and Mark Coleman and Sylvia Borstein and Sharon, yeah,
Salzburg.
thank you. Sharon Salzberg. I love it when I draw blanks.
We love her too.
Yeah. And so and I found this, they were offering this class. It started in 2019. It was a 2-year course for the Mindfulness Meditation Teacher Certification Program through Jack and Tara Brach. So Jack Kornfield and Tara Brach, and I loved the class. I highly recommend it. So this is just a conglomerate of all this magic that's just kind of come at me in my life. And I've had a lot of trauma in my childhood. Um, that wasn't pleasant, and I don't like to, I mean, I don't mind revisiting it. Just for me, it doesn't make sense to keep bringing up the negative stuff because it doesn't do anything positive for me. But what got me over it was all of this magic that I fell into, all of this wonderful opportunities, having the support of grandparents, finding Reiki, finding Qigong, learning meditation and Buddhism. Um, and right now I'm studying with Biko Analio in the Berry Center in Massachusetts, studying the different suttas. And I love meditation. I don't know if you can see over my shoulder, there's a stack of big fat books by my teddy bear. Those are the sutta books that we study. And
Oh,
they're just amazing, amazing stories. So In the meantime, in 2010, I opened up this meditation center in Kelseyville and thought, I'm going to help people. I'm going to teach Reiki. I'm going to teach Qigong. I'm going to teach meditation. I'm going to see what people need and offer them what I can. And it's just been amazing. It's just been an amazing ride. Meeting all kinds of people, being able to teach and share all of this. Um, yeah, so that's kind of it in a nutshell. That was kind of a roundabout way. Is there anything you want to talk about specifically or?
Thank you for sharing that. That I didn't know most of that about you. Obviously, the whole childhood stuff, that's so interesting and just like incredible to hear. I would like to know how, as a teacher, because I kind of have worked with multiple modalities too, some different than you, but how do you blend them all? Like the Reiki, the Qigong, the meditation, like do you do them separately? Like now we're learning Reiki or practicing Reiki, or is it kind of, is your work very combined? Can you talk about how the services look that you offer?
Yeah. So on Monday night at 7 o'clock, I always have my meditation class for an hour. And what we learn is basic mindfulness meditation from beginning to more thorough studies of Buddhism. And it's Buddhist based. And a lot of people don't understand that Buddhism is not a religion. If you're Christian, this is what I tell people that often ask me, if you're Christian, it makes you a better Christian. If you're Jewish, it makes you a better Jew. It enhances whatever it is that you've identified in life as yourself.
Mhm.
So um, gaining that calm, that inner peace, recognizing that the world is in chaos. It always has been. It's just part of being in a group of humans, and that we don't need to react to it. We need to kind of be with it, learn from it, and be the example of those peaceful people that we really prefer to be with. So the turmoil that's going on now in this country, I see people getting really wrapped up in it. And it's just taken these nice, wonderfully warm people and just ripped them into pieces, their families, their friends. So when I gather people together, I'll remind them that we're all interconnected and what you think and do does affect everyone else. And as well as what they do affects you. So rather than reacting to whatever it is, seeing it, accepting it, being with it, and being at peace with it no matter what. Because we have no control over what anyone else is doing. We only have control over our response to that. And we can choose at any time to take a pause, take a breath, and come from a place of love rather than a place of fear. So that's my main teaching in meditation is to really find that place, really find it. And then separately, I offer Reiki classes, and separately, I offer Qigong classes. I also offer distance Reiki for people who are really struggling with something. So they'll contact me and say, I need Reiki, and I'm not there. Can you give this to me? Or my sister's in the hospital, and I'd love for you to send her some Reiki. So in the morning, and I'll specify what time to them. I'll meditate and send them Reiki and visualize Reiki and send that off to them. It's really powerful. So in a sense, I kind of do personally do that all at one time, whether it's Qigong and Reiki and meditation, but individually, I like to teach specifically individually because it gets too confusing otherwise to, just kind of lump all that together right away.
Yeah,
Did that answer your question?
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joanie, what would you say to someone who's new to Reiki or new to recovery, or we don't have to necessarily identify as being in recovery, right? A lot of people don't, but who are on a healing path, who are seeking more spiritual connection.
Yeah. Yeah. I think most people that come to the center here are seeking some kind of healing path, a spiritual path. And I think as far as recovery goes, if you're in a recovery group, whether it's 12 step, 8 step, or anything else, you're looking for something to really keep you grounded, keep you stable, and give you some kind of uplift, a feeling of uplift. And I really believe that Reiki is a huge part of that. And for me, Reiki works better when I've been meditating, when I've gotten my mind calm and I can really connect with it. That helps so much. When I have someone come talk to me for life coaching, for example, and they're in recovery, one of the first things I do is we pause and we do a meditation. And during that meditation, I'll be sending them some healing, calming Reiki. And it's just so beneficial. So I don't know, did that answer your question? Sometimes I get on these stories and I get,
Yes, I love your stories. Thank you so much for sharing the stories that you've shared with us today. Yeah, Lynn, don't you find that when we interview people, a lot of people will say that when they discovered Reiki, they maybe just happened into it? I know that that's what happened for me. I didn't know exactly what I was looking for, but I found it and it felt like home.
Yes, definitely. I wanted to, that was a good question, and I wanted to follow up on your question. Andrea, Joni, if I were your client, if I was a new client coming to you, because I mean this is something Andrea and I do this work too, and I'm always looking for ways to be able to cultivate the language better. So what are like an expectation? Like I'm new, I'm in recovery, and you say like you do Reiki and meditation. What would I, as a client, expect the effects to be for me? You know what I mean?
yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much. And an important question because I find that most people in any kind of recovery, um, it has stemmed from some sort of trauma. And there's a lot of studies on this where most addictions stem from a trauma of some sort.
Right.
Um, Often during a Reiki session, or if you're new to Reiki and you're experiencing one of your first sessions, a lot of old stuff will come up, a lot of painful stuff. And this is something I try to remember and don't always remember. Try to remember to tell people about ahead of time. While you're, if I'm giving a Reiki treatment to someone in recovery and they're new, I'll tell them while you're laying there receiving Reiki, some things may happen. You may get overwhelmed with emotion and start crying. You may have memories that you suppressed come up that are disturbing. So, any of these things is part of the healing path, part of allowing ourselves to cleanse and heal. And it's not always pleasant. Sometimes it's very painful to go through that, but it is part of the healing process. So I try to prepare them in case that comes up because it can be pretty scary when it does.
Yeah, I'm glad that you do that. And I think yeah, it's important. I recently learned the term healing crisis that my Reiki teacher, um, or I don't know if it was her, but somebody in the room said like when you're having sort of like the side effects that can be like a headache or actual physical body aches that you weren't expecting, because you think of Reiki as feeling good and relaxed, which is usually the side effect of Reiki, right? But when you're doing sort of like the internal work and your intentions are deep healing, that can manifest as some, physical pain while the energy clears you out and resets your nervous system. So I wanted to kind of just mention that because I don't think it's something that Andrea and I have really talked about in our YouTube sessions before, just to have sort of like clear expectations for people, being really informed about the work isn't necessarily super easy, but it's fast. You can both tell me if you agree with this. It's fast. It's like a faster process. It's going to be like ripping off the Band-Aid all at once rather than slow. When you use Reiki with recovery, it speeds up the healing process, but there's still that uncovery and then processing and then releasing. And then you feel so much better and clearer and aligned. That's my experience, but I'll throw it to Joni. Will you tell me what you think about those comments?
I absolutely agree with you on all of that. When we have whether you were traumatized prior to recovery or not, the guilt that comes with it, the shame that comes with it, all of those feelings that come with recovery, if we don't acknowledge them, if we don't address them, that just sits in there and festers. So you know when you're uncovering that, you know when you're starting to heal from that, that has to come out, that has to cleanse. And the only way to cleanse something is to get in there and get deep with it. And it can be painful, it can be uncomfortable. And sometimes physically, one woman ended up in the hospital because she said she just felt so ill afterwards. And I really believe it was just the toxins releasing from her memories that she repressed. So yeah, it can be serious.
What support do you offer to people like ongoing? They have a session, and let's say something does come up. Do you offer counseling or do you refer out to like a different professional or both?
Yeah, both. I
Mhm.
usually keep therapist cards on hand.
Mhm.
And I'll give them two or three different therapists to choose from. And I make myself open to them too for coaching or just support, whatever they need. If you're learning Reiki and you've gotten your attunement for one or two or three, I will always be your Reiki coach if you want it. And I also tell people try other Reiki masters. You can learn a lot from different people. So I'm not just going to be the only Reiki person you can go to. Everybody's energy feels so different. And sometimes we can connect to one person better than another.
Mhm.
So yeah, I definitely make myself available. I think it's
Nice.
important, especially for recovering people who have probably a lot of guilt and shame that they need to work through.
I
Yeah.
think that's so true. I think about that when I work with my counseling clients, right? There are risks associated with going to therapy. A lot of times folks, they want to feel better, right? That's the objective. But there's a lot that comes up before people may feel the way they think they want to feel in the beginning. And I think it's just so important to continue, if it feels possible to continue with the healing treatments, whether that's therapy or coaching or Reiki, right? To see it through, because I think that yes, there is light on the other side.
Yeah, and to learn how to give yourself Reiki, even let's say you haven't gotten the attunement, but you've gone to so many sessions that you kind of get the feel of how Reiki works. To give yourself Reiki while you're going through these things is just huge, huge importance. Waking up in the morning and just starting your day with some Reiki with that intention, because you know how intentional Reiki is. It's just it flows where you send it. It goes where it needs to go. It knows where you need it. So when we
Yes.
give ourselves that Reiki, it's so healing. And it calms us. It helps us work through our issues that we're trying to work through. And it's just that extra support that's positive and adds that extra light that we need.
I think it really provides a framework. I know my background is in 12 steps, and 20 years ago when I first started going to meetings, that was the only game in town. And there's so many different ways to recover, right? But for me, Reiki really feels like both a spiritual practice, right? Like it's something that I can do that provides that physical, mental, emotional, spiritual attention and care, but the precepts are something that I love to talk about, and I love to ask about how you use the precepts in your life, because I think for me that provides an excellent guide to living, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Um, just for today, you know, and it's so important, especially if we get caught up in an emotional bind with something. Just for today, I won't worry. Just for today, I won't be angry. Just for today, I'll work hard. I'll count my many blessings. Be kind to all beings. And especially be kind to all beings when you're having ill will feelings towards someone because of their opinions or the way they're saying or acting, and then bring that into your heart. Just for today, I will be kind to all beings. I can forgive people for their human mistakes. I am human. I make mistakes. I can allow them to be human. I think it's an enormous part of just recovering from life issues. Life is difficult, but it's also really beautiful when we remind ourselves of those things. So the Reiki principles are just so powerful and I think so important.
Yeah, I need to always remember that it's important to extend that kindness to myself, right? And that's where I think it can be really helpful. In my early days, I would always go to the Serenity Prayer, and now I always go to the Reiki precepts, because it really helps to kind of put things in perspective, and it gives me something to focus on that feels really good and natural.
Yeah, it's so important. And sometimes I, like everybody else, I forget. I get caught up in my emotions. I have my opinions about things. I don't like this. I don't like that. And I'll catch myself and think, okay, we know that. But what do you like? What are the positives here? Let's focus on those things. Because when we focus on the positives, that creates more positive energy. When we focus on the negatives, brings more negatives to us. So, what do we want? I think that's the question I ask myself. What do you want right now? Do you want to be happy, or do you want to complain about stuff you have no power over? But principles are just a huge part of reminding me that it's okay to be on the happy side of life. You don't have to worry about things that we have no power over.
Mm.
I'll often
What
remind
is
some of my students that we have no power over anything. We're on a rock hurling through space. We have no power over anything, and especially over other people. We only have power over ourselves. And even then, it's a struggle sometimes.
Yeah, especially early in recovery. It is such a struggle, right? That the ability to really understand and practice that is a huge step in early recovery, but really every day, like you said, just being human.
Yeah, yeah. And I still feel there's times I go to the various Buddhist study classes I go to. Sometimes they have affinity classes for different groups of people, and they never have one for recovering people. It's rare. Um, One of my other teachers, Kevin Griffin, who's written many books on recovery and Buddhism, it says the same thing. It's hard for him to be taken seriously because he's in recovery. And I noticed that as soon as someone hears I'm in recovery from drugs and alcohol, then there's a huge group of people that could really benefit from this. I know the door is closing. I can feel it. I can see it.
yeah.
There's like, yeah, we don't want to deal with you. And I feel really not just frustrated and depressed about it, but I feel there's a huge need for this, that other people who are not in recovery, who don't understand recovery, are just not looking at. It's just too weird for them. It's just too different. They're too uncomfortable with it. And I don't like that. I think that that's very limiting, not only for the people in recovery, but for them. They're not opening to learn about this. And I think they could reach out and help more people. So that's been my goal lately, is to reach out to people like Jack and Tara and other teachers and say, hey, there's a community here that could really benefit if you would just listen and hear me out. I know it's uncomfortable. I know we all know somebody in our family that has addiction problems, but they need help and love too. And I really want to open that door. So that's something I'm working on right now.
Mm.
The
Yeah.
approach is kind of touchy, so I'm still working on it. Any suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, well, I feel like I learn the most from people in recovery, right? Especially someone like you who's been in recovery for such a long time. I think there's so much wisdom that comes with recovery because we have to face life on life's terms. We can't, for me, it was alcohol, right? But it could have been any substance, and so I can't numb the way that I did before. I have to be able to feel my feelings. And that was so uncomfortable in the beginning. I didn't even have words for what my feelings were. I couldn't even identify them and express them. So, yeah, I think what you're trying to do is, we all really need the same thing. To me, it's language, right? Like, I do believe everyone is recovering from something. Like you said, most people have had trauma in their life, right? Some trauma or um, some loss that's had a significant impact on them, right? And so, yes, I love that you're trying to make it to normalize that conversation.
Yeah, we'll
Let me
see
jump
how
in
that
here.
goes.
Yeah, I just want to follow that because you mentioned like she recovers, well, that we're all in recovery from something is one of the, you know, guiding principles or intentions of She Recovers Foundation. And just to help you when you're having these really important talks with people, my mother, for example, would not ever in a million years identify herself as somebody in recovery. However, when she was 9 years old, her mother was in a terrible car accident that took her away in a hospital for 4 years. 4 years, her mother was gone. My grandmother was a paraplegic from that point on, lived the rest of her life in a wheelchair. So while my mother is not somebody who is in recovery from an alcohol use disorder, how can you not say that, you're not in recovery from something that's going to change the whole rest of your life? Girls from 9 to 13, that's a very formative part of your life. My great grandmother came and took care of her. My grandfather worked for Hollywood in the studios. He was gone on location. So here's my family, right? They got this whole big major traumatic event, and my mother has been in recovery from that her whole life. So I feel like Reiki and recovery is for every single person because anyone I know, my husband, my daughter, it doesn't matter if they identify as in recovery, they're in recovery from some kind of a trauma. And so, if you're saying if you have any ideas, I would have people, think about the things in their life that they have lived through and point out that's your recovery.
Wow, that's so powerful. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you so much for that and for the reminder
Yeah.
that we are all recovering. Life is difficult. And then there's the DNA. It's passed down from generation to generation. And now with your grandmother having the trauma, your mother having the trauma, it's in our DNA. And
Mhm.
so I think you're right. It's so important. And I will mention those things. I've taken notes. Thank you. Anything that'll help get the message
Yeah.
across, right?
Well, we want to wrap up a little bit here in a little bit.
Mm.
One last question that I'd like to ask is what surprised you most about Reiki? Because, none of us ever set out in life and say, when I grow up, we're 5-year-olds, I want to grow up and be a Reiki practitioner. So you found it, and what magic did it bring you? What one thing was like the most surprising thing that the world of Reiki has brought to Joanie?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Well, you know, I have not only found a certain amount of peace and a place where I feel like I fit in with a certain feeling of home, Excuse me. But I've also felt that I have reached certain people who have also wouldn't have found it if they hadn't bumped into me and we discussed it. Um, People in the grocery store will. Have you noticed this? This happens a lot with Reiki people. People will just, they see your light and they're like drawn to you like a moth, and they start talking to you about all kinds of stuff, and before you know it, you find all these things in common, and that's always beautiful when that happens. Two things real quick that I can think of from that experience. One was a woman who wanted to learn Reiki, and when I was just kind of giving her Reiki and putting my hand on her crown chakra. And I thought, oh my gosh, this woman has been around for a long time, has really old earth energy, excuse me. And I think she's a shaman. And I started getting all these pictures. So we went into kind of a trance, and I talked to her and she started telling me about these previous lives. And it was exactly what I was seeing. So that was really, really wonderful.
Surprising. Yeah. Right.
It was amazing. It blew my mind and hers. The other amazing thing is that a man came to me because he had spleen cancer that had spread throughout his body. And he said, I believe in Reiki. I use Reiki as much as I can, but I need some extra help. Can you help me with my healing? And I said, I'll just pour it into you. Let's do once or twice a week. And he came regularly. I didn't charge him anything. You know, he was really struggling financially, but that's not what it's about, right? It's about helping people. And he came, and now that was 2 years ago, and he's still cancer free. So, I mean, it's powerful stuff, and it doesn't always work that way, but when it does, it's just such a blessing, and I'm just so grateful that I found it and I can help people.
Look, we found you. You. Andrea, any last thoughts? Well, first, actually, Joni, before we do last thoughts, I know you have Monday nights at 7. Do you have any other courses or workshops coming up that you want to tell anybody about?
You know, I haven't scheduled anything yet. I'm in the process. Since spring is beginning, that's when I usually update my website, a positivelight.com, and I list all my upcoming events on there. So the Zoom information for the meditation classes on there. Um, Anytime you want to contact me, contact information is on there, positivelight.com.
Mm.
I'm hoping that you will do something, that I can get up there because like I said, it's only 2 hours. So if you have like a Saturday class or something, make sure to let me know and I will come up there and meet you and give you a big hug.
I would love
Ah,
that. I just had Kevin Griffin here on March 22nd for a day long. Um, it was wonderful. He comes every year. I think this was his ninth or 10th time. So
Oh,
hopefully when he comes back, you can join us for that, if not
yeah.
before. And I'll definitely let you know when we got something else coming up. I would love to meet both of you. Andrea, I know it's a long drive for you.
it is a long drive, but I'm so grateful for this connection. I think your business name is so appropriate. You are such a light. Even before you started speaking, I thought, oh my goodness, this woman's energy is just so beautiful.
Thank you.
And to hear about how long you've had Reiki in your life and recovery, it's just really so incredible to me. One thing I wanted to ask you about before we finish up is I read that you are a poet and a musician. And I wondered how that piece of the puzzle of you is something that is really an expression of these aspects of you.
Yeah, music for me and for a lot of people is a special kind of energy that comes from some place I can't even name. But when I'm in music, I feel like I'm it's just flowing. It's just that natural flow, the same flow, energy flow that Reiki gives me. It's just so natural when I tap into that. I lose time. I lose space. It's just, yeah, it's magic. And I think most musicians and other artists will say the same thing, whether they're painting or writing or whatever. I just get caught in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think anything that can get you in that flow state can be so healing, right? But to be able to share that with other people, that's a gift too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's what we are, right? We are the gift for other
Mhm.
people. We are bringing this healing and love to other people. And what better calling could there be?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just so
Andrea,
grateful that,
actually, go ahead.
no,
Sorry.
I'm just going to say, I'm just so grateful to be able to talk with you both and be here with you. I love this. This is
Thank
great.
you. Well,
Wonderful.
I was going to tell you, since you're bringing up, Andrew's bringing up art and artistic expression. She runs a free art group on Wednesdays. It's 4 o'clock our time and 7 Eastern time, but it's online and it's just a women's recovery, and you just do whatever art. So art could be poetry, or it could be drawing or painting or crocheting or whatever. But you can connect with Andrea through her website, which will be the links are on our YouTube. Element for Wellness. What is it? What's your
Yeah.
website?
Elements 4, the number 4, wellness.
Yeah. So and it's listed there, right? The group, the art
Yes.
group
Yeah,
is
you can
listed.
sign
Okay.
up.
So I know where, because I follow her everywhere. So I have the links, but it's so I would recommend that also to anyone who, needs a place that's women recovery space. And then Andrea and I are going to be also offering like a weekly Reiki support group circle online soon too. And I hope to see you there, Joni, because we will be happily, offering to let you lead one or more than one if you wanted to, because
Oh, thank you so
that would
much.
that would be great. So, yeah, thank you both for your time today. And Joni, thank you for being here and sharing your positive light with us, and really gave me personally, because you know me, you're on Facebook with me, and I'm one of those people that is like, it has to change, it has to be this way, and I get really angry with the world. And it was, this was a good reminder to me that I just need to be a positive light and live the Reiki, rather than, fighting so much, but just being the Reiki in the world. So I want to thank you, because you're a great teacher, and that was really a mindful, humbling experience to relearn today.
I'm
I
glad.
think that message was so helpful in these times for sure. It's really helpful to have someone like you who's lived this, right? You've been living this life for, many years in recovery and using Reiki as a healing modality, and it works.
It
It
does.
really works.
It does. It does. And those times when we feel like it's not working anymore, that's a good time to stop and remind yourself what the precepts are and take a breath and begin again. Because there really is a reason we're here. There is a reason we're here. We're
Mm.
here to help each other. Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so much.
Joni. It was so great to talk to you today.
Lovely.
So great to meet you, Joni. Thank you so much for your time. I hope we can stay connected.
Yes, me too. Definitely. Thank you so much for having me.